Hey there, welcome to Gimme Empathy. I'm your host, Scott Mercer. On this week's episode, we have some return guests, my cousins Jeff and Jono Hansen, also known as the drum and bass duo Ekko and Sidetrack. You may remember them from episode 5. So this episode was recorded straight after the first one I did with them. They live in Perth, and they were in town on tour. Now, because I only see them every few years, we thought, well, why not do a second one as well? This one's a bit of a lighter episode amidst all the depression and anxiety and addiction of previous episodes. We'd had a few ciders by this point of the night, and because we got all the personal life story kind of stuff out in the first one, this one is, the first half's more about ideas than any great personal revelations, and the second half is just a bit of a conversation about movies. So spoiler warnings for the movies Alien vs. Predator, Aliens vs. Predator Requiem, Prometheus, and The Happening. This episode actually should have gone on for a lot longer, but my SD card on my recorder ran out, and I didn't notice for probably an hour and a half. So even though in the end it's still a good normal length episode, which I guess just indicates exactly how long we could crap on about movies. This was one of the first podcasts I recorded, so yeah, I wasn't used to the idea of looking down and checking the recorder like I am now. So this episode will cut off, or rather fade out, without having a real conclusion. And it does that at the start of an enormous rant I have about Star Wars, which is probably for the best, really. I have a lot of things to say about Star Wars. I'll probably get to them in another podcast anyway. Because I have two guests on this episode, I've put Jeff slightly in your right ear and Jono in your left, providing you're listening to headphones and they're on the right way. But if you're only listening on one speaker or something, then Jono is the one who's the first to start talking when I ask them how they know me at the very start. So enjoy this episode. If the podcast was in America, it would be old enough to drink as of now, because this is episode 21 with Jeff and Jono Hansen. I'm here with Jeff and Jono Hansen. We're recording this just after we recorded our last podcast. But for the people, this could be, who knows how long it's been for the people listening to this. This could be weeks between when they heard the last one. It could be years. It could be millennia. Maybe no one's ever heard this before. Maybe you listening, you're the first person to ever hear this. So for that person, Jeff and Jono, how do we know each other?
We are cousins, with both our mothers being sisters. That's right, isn't it?
Yes.
That's the way to say it.
Yeah. Yes, our mothers are sisters.
Our mothers,
are sisters, and you are our first cousin, because none of us have any second cousins, because there's not a second layer to that.
Oh, yeah.
Wouldn't my sister's daughter would be your second cousin?
That's how that works.
And then Leo and Sebastian are your second cousins.
Yeah. I don't know how once removed works, though.
No.
I don't know what
Isn't
means.
once removed...
Through marriage, perhaps?
Through marriage. So
like, for me, for like Andrew's family, my sister's husband's brother or something?
Yeah.
Would they be a cousin once removed?
So does that mean James and Ellie... This is the worst intro to a podcast.
I'm going to Google it, because I've always wondered.
Okay.
So according to Google, we have second cousin is a child of one's parent's first cousin. Great English. Google.
Oh, okay. So say my mother's cousin's child would be my second cousin.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
So actually, it's more common to talk about your first cousin once removed, because that's your cousin's kids, rather than your second cousin.
Right.
But how often do you hear the once removed? That just sounds like people are being like obtuse.
Yeah, that's always like the throwaway suffix to a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just say my cousin's kids.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Why isn't there a term for a... Does Andrew have any siblings?
Yes, he has 3 brothers, I believe.
So I want there to be a term for your relationship with them.
Okay, so Andrew is my brother-in-law.
Yeah.
So his brothers are not my brothers-in-law.
No.
They are my brother-in-law's brothers.
That's it. They're nothing. They're
So
literally...
there needs to be a word for that.
Yeah, I want us to live in a society that is so connected with so many words for things. I want there to be a relationship name for your relationship to Andrew's brothers.
Yeah.
That would be cool. Like a cousinry, like a really long one though.
What would a cousin-in-law be?
Cousin-in-law.
Is Andrew your cousin-in-law?
I don't think... Technically
that's interesting.
Technically speaking... No, because in-laws...
In law, I think you personally have to be somewhat...
related. Like, in-laws are parents, aren't they?
No, but like, you know, Ben is Ellie's sister-in-law. So our older brother, his brother is...
So it always relates to the person involved in the marriage. So Ben is the in-law of all these people. But I, as Ben's brother, am nothing to Ben's in-laws.
Right.
They hate me. No, not really. The Browns are a lovely family. No, but there is no relationship. That there is no binding term. It's
not in English. Do you reckon there would be in other cultures?
Probably.
I definitely think so. I think where family groups were more
valued.
No, probably where families live together more.
Yeah.
There would be more of a relationship. Like I guarantee you in. Whether it be in tribal cultures or in like cultures where the whole family lives in the same house, like some Asian cultures and stuff like that, they would have names for your cousin's brothers that isn't just cousin's brother's wife. You know, I've lost that. But whatever we were just talking about, yeah.
I'm really glad we sorted that out because we started up the mics again so we can talk about universal basic income.
Yeah, I'm glad we got to the bottom of that very shallow bucket.
So you're about to discuss a conversation you had with your dad the other day about universal basic income.
Yes.
How did that conversation go?
From what I recall,
he hit me with a wooden spoon and told me to get out of the kitchen.
He had a kind of older man mentality of... that would cost so much money. What about welfare? And then when we said it would kind of mitigate the welfare system and let everyone go out on their own, and then he was like, you'd have people wasting it, and you know we should. He had that.
To be honest, though, he wasn't as gruff as we thought he would be.
Yeah, he wasn't as gruff,
and he was like, it's a great idea, in theory, but if you were going to pay $2,000 a month, it's $500 a week to everyone. You have to find $24,000 a year for everyone.
It's a lot of money.
It's a shit ton of money, and at some point there's going to be like a modulation of that, like it, you know, universal basic income is getting a percentage rise due to inflation and blah blah blah, and so that more money just has to keep being found.
It's been trialled in a few places already.
Yep.
I was reading the other day that they're going to start trialling it in a little town in Canada somewhere, and that in fact somewhere else in Canada there was, I don't have Google in front of me, I don't want to speak out of turn, there was at least a year at some town in Canada in the 1970s, and at the end of it, so they looked at all the stats and demographics of this small town, having had basic universal income available for low-income earners for the whole time. And the only two things that changed in the town were that the boys did better in high school academically. Their results went up. And the other one was that women waited longer before going back to work after having a child.
That's a good thing. I mean, the appeal that we probably see in it is... obviously,
I want my money. I want it now, and I want to make drum and bass, and I want to get paid more for it.
Yeah, like we've been really lucky to we've never really made a hell of a lot of money off music, and we've always worked. But it would be awesome to be able to go, hey, when I finish school, I can kind of just start whatever, being a painter, because that's really what I want to do. Allow more people to be able to follow their dreams, because I think a lot of people's dreams, hopes get crushed by like, you know, oh yeah, I want to be a painter, but you got to pay bills.
Bad luck, Billy. Go and get a job and then become a painter when you're 50.
And like, oh, that's true. Like, I'll just paint on the weekends, and then suddenly you're earning money.
And people aren't that dedicated. Like if you let, it's not that they're not dedicated. It's like, it's really hard to find time if you're not getting paid for a certain thing. It's very hard to.
You got to really love it.
Yeah,
or really love it, dude.
Or go like, it's not even really love. It's like allow yourself to fail heaps, which is part of any creative process.
And having the freedom to be able to do that.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And still live.
So if you got $500 a week, that would cover like rent and some groceries. Or if you chose to live in a more affluent area, maybe it would just cover rent and a few other little things. Like it's not like we're saying everything's for free. You probably have to work somewhat. But I wonder if some people would just save the money and then they can do whatever they want with it. If they want to go on a holiday, then we're getting, or if they want to spend it on X or whatever. I feel like by injecting more money into the community and allowing people space and bandwidth to do other things, we might allow more positive changes to happen. Because at the moment we've got lots of busy drones doing things and making money anyway. And like everyone's towing the line. But if we just let people go like, we're not going to pay you heaps of money to do whatever you want, but you can actually do whatever you want.
Do you think that even that idea of allowing people to do whatever they want is too much of a out there concept for the people that are in charge to kind of grasp?
Absolutely.
Like that's almost, I think older people would view that as a kind of 60s psychedelic like revolution of free, like peace-loving hippies, kind of let everyone do whatever they want.
There'd be a backlash to it, no doubt, like anything like we were talking about with the music stuff earlier. I mean, last year.
This is 2018 now.
Like everything has a reaction. So if everyone got free money, it would produce a lot of interesting byproducts, as well as everyone gets a little bit more freedom and like stress would be lower. I reckon the crime rate would go down.
Well, because you wouldn't have people stealing for. I think there's a very small part of the population that steal for fun, and I think a lot of people steal for necessity. So you've got a lot of people driven because they've got to support a family, or they've got to support a wife, or they've got to support themselves. So they have to fucking break into a restaurant and try to steal the tips or something like that. If they had that income, I'm sure the majority of people would not choose to be a piece of shit, because I don't think the majority of people are pieces of shit.
I think it alleviates a certain amount, like a threshold of pressure that builds up with, if you were to interview a lot of low socioeconomic people, families particular, what's your biggest stress? Money. It's like, it's anything. It's like, I don't have the money to, if an emergency happens, or even just if something slightly out of the ordinary happens, to be able to, everything's hanging by a thin thread. If you could get a buffer in there, I think everyone would have less stress, everyone would be happier, and the byproduct of all that might just be a happier society in general. Yep. We might not get more artisan craftsmen or like salami makers, but if we do, then that's an awesome byproduct of everything else that will go along with it. But I think some bad things would happen as well, because like the 60s, there would be people that are like, no, we've got a lot of freeloaders and they just want our free money. We want to go back to a system where you work for what you got paid.
It's probably going to get framed in a real socialist. It's a pretty socialist idea. It's not necessarily a communist idea, but it will get framed by the more conservative people in the community as a socialist thing. And and seen as a bad thing.
I think it would, and because if you look at the people who would be in a position to make that kind of decision, who are in government, who control our social welfare and our safety nets, so those kind of people have always known what they want to do with their lives. Like from a very early age, they were set on a course, probably by their parents, and put in certain institutions, rich private schools, rich universities, where they knew what they wanted to do and had the resources to do that all the way. So, and I think you get that, like, the way that people in power, definitely in this country at the moment, talk about the economy, you can see there is no connection with people who earn under 80 grand a year, really. They just don't get what it's about. It's all a spreadsheet to them, and that they only care about the keeping numbers green or black or red or whatever it is.
Well, it's a really hard thing as someone that doesn't make anywhere near that, but pursuing the dream of doing what we do for a living. We know that it's going to be a grind, and we know it's kind of unpaid until it's paid. And I'm not sure having more and more people in the market is necessarily a good thing, because then you lower the barrier for entry. Because if everyone can do whatever the fuck they want, make shitty pottery, then why do you want to buy good pottery that someone that's like toiled and toiled and toiled, like, I've been working 30 years and now I make this amazing stuff, and someone goes, oh, I kind of learned how to do some stuff. I took a pottery class, and I saved up my $3,000, and I paid someone in Asia to build 50 of these really nice looking ones, and I brought them in, and then I used the rest of my money to open a shop, and now I'm selling them.
It's fueling capitalism, really.
It really is, and that could be an argument for against UBI.
Could you?
I think we've already seen that, like in the last 20 years with the rise of things like Etsy or whatever, or with all this technology, even with music. Like, there's such a lower barrier to entry. Anyone can, or fucking YouTube. Anyone can make movies now. How incredible is that? If you took a film student in the 70s aside and said you could make a movie that could be watched by millions of people tomorrow, and for like $100. Like that would blow their minds.
Yeah, and I don't want to sound like some old man that's like, oh, too many people using goddamn video cameras, but there's something interesting about the artistic journey. No, it would happen if everyone got some money, but it's, I don't know. I'm trying to articulate a point that I can't quite get there in my head, I think.
I think like YouTube, like YouTube's allowed, I don't know,
Justin Bieber,
a random number of people to be famous and have cornered their own little portion of the market. In the 70s, you needed to be like a Led Zeppelin or something like that to smash it and to make millions of money big. Everyone knew about you. But now, there are millionaires who we have no idea about, and they're guys that play Counter-Strike.
Yeah.
But they've got 30,000 or 50,000 subscribers on YouTube or on Twitch or something, and they pay money and they get adverts and they're making a decent living. I think what will be created is smaller compartmentalized communities that, the guy making his shit pottery, he might sell that shit.
And it is rubbish.
That he might sell the rubbish pottery to, he only needs to sell it to 200 other people. It's not like everyone needs to go to the same, not corporate interest.
He doesn't have to become the Led Zeppelin of pottery.
Yeah, essentially. Not everyone has to go to IKEA.
And then
the same shit.
And then maybe everyone gets a bit more of an interest in pottery.
Yeah.
And maybe that in itself is a awesome byproduct.
It's like a fracturing of the capitalism as a corporate idea. If you fracture that and kind of capitalism turns into a microcosm thing, a more of like a, not barter system, but like similar to that.
We're coming up with so many quotes that I want to be the episode title. Capitalism becomes the microcosm thing, the Led Zeppelin of pottery. We're churning out gold here, guys.
So many buzzwords like synergy.
Are you saying news energy or new synergy?
Twitch is one of the things that's really blown my mind. Have either of you guys ever watched a Twitch stream?
We've seen a few like music producers sometimes do them, and like literally like just like empty track, and they go like, oh, I'm starting to go make the song, and I'm just doing this, and they go for 8 hours.
Oh
and
my God.
and it's like incredible to watch.
You've just blown my mind all over again. I never even thought Twitch could be used for making music.
Yeah.
I watched my first real, like I've seen, bits and pieces, highlights of Twitch streams before, and I've watched like edited together Let's Plays on YouTube. But the other night I sat and watched a Twitch stream from, do you guys know Barjo? He used to present ABC's Good Game.
No.
It was like the At the Movies of video games. They reviewed video games.
I feel like I've seen the show once or twice.
Yeah, it ran for 10 years. It was cancelled earlier this year. So Barjo now is a Twitch streamer, and he's really he's capitalized off his persona that he built on TV, which by the end of it, he really fleshed out. He became quite a quirky, crazy kind of guy. And like the stuff on his Twitch stream is like 50 times more bizarre than all the stuff he did on the ABC. He's got like, every time there's a new, someone subscribes for another month, he plays like a video that's like in black and white of him like at a beach, and it's like, thank you, legend, thank you, what a legend, like what a legend. But it's just, there's all these memes and like insular, tiny, weird in-jokes that have developed. And he's only been doing it like 2 months. And like while I was watching, a dude donated $1,000 to him. And he'd set up like a target for, I think, like a new engine for his bike or something for like $200. And someone gave him $1,000. One of the things that really amazes me is the things people are willing to throw money at these days.
Yep. It's the Kickstarter thing. It's like, it's which I really like. Yeah, crowdsourcing. I really like it. And I think part of my resistance to it is that I haven't exploited it.
Yeah. I want to know how.
I think any resistance I feel towards, that guy's shitty pottery or anything that's going to come of it is because I am a little bit stuck in that old school model of like, I just did the grind and then like slowly did it and everything happened kind of organically. But there's people out there that see what the tools are now. There'd be a kid that looks at the best Counter-Strike player now and they go, all right, what do you reckon? I have to play Counter-Strike for a year straight and I'd get that good and be kind of funny. All right. Get to work on that, and they would with universal basic income. They'd just go like, I'm just going to play games. And then after a year, they build a following and then they become the new PewDiePie or whatever, like the next thing. And then they've exploited the system that wants content to watch. Because that's the thing. There is a market for almost everything. I think that's ridiculous because I'm not a gamer. But if you're a gamer, then you might give someone like that Barjo guy $1,000.
Especially if you've got a large amount of income from, maybe that guy earns $5 million a year and he just finds this guy really entertaining.
Well, see, this is the thing, like everything's become about microtransactions. Even you used to buy a TV for $1,000 and then you could watch whatever you want. You even buy a DVD for $30, you could watch it the rest of your life. Now you have subscriptions for $5 a month for like a dozen different streaming services, a dozen music services. You're signed up to a bunch of Patreons to provide them money for their podcast or whatever. And everything, it takes away things in little bites from your PayPal account or your Bitcoin account or your credit card or whatever. Do you guys contribute regularly to any like crowdfunded things?
We contribute solely to the payment of keeping Ekko and Sidetrack, the Adventures of Ekko and Sidetrack hosted on a hosting platform. But otherwise we don't, because I mean, it's not through wanting to, I think. I reckon it's like the money. We don't make the money.
I've donated money to charity, like small amounts, or maybe I've donated something to Duncan's podcast before, like last year. But yeah, like money is. We don't have the spare money really.
I don't have a regular thing as well. And like, while I could see it as being something that would be interesting to get into, it's not something I've thought about much. But now, just thinking about it now, like, there are people out there that all you have to do is find 1,000 people that want to pay you $1 a month.
Yeah.
And you get $1,000 a month. There's universal basic income.
We could easily ask if people wanted to. We do Patreon. Maybe that supplements our income for one day, which means we can work one day less, which means we can get an extra podcast or guarantee a podcast is going to be out every week, or, you know, become more productive because people want to see more of us. I think there's something about asking. I don't know if it's a pride thing, but there's something weird as well about asking people for money.
Yeah, and I think it's a thing that's disappearing.
Yeah.
There's been like a generational shift in there being shame in asking people for money before you've given them something, or while you're giving them something for free, but saying, hey, if you want, you can chip in for this as well. It is a weird thing.
We did we put out a song on Bandcamp a while ago, and we said pay $1 or whatever you want, and we had people pay. I think someone paid $10 for it. That's one MP3 of a song, and like, we would probably do that again if it worked out. But you've seen it with other musicians, like Radiohead did the pay what you want thing, and some people took it for free and some people gave $1,000. So I'm not sure what the kind of fallout at the end of that, whether they thought it was a success or not.
I think for them it was, but obviously not everyone could do that and make a profit.
Yeah, I think it's, if you have a monetary value for your goal for doing that kind of thing, like Radiohead could probably afford to lose money on an album, but be seen to be doing something that's socially and...
It's so funny though that you think that, like, it, just to take a different view on things, like, that's the worth of creative stuff to people.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a band. Like, they're prepared to take a loss. They got to create a fun album. Imagine you running a computer company. Man, I just really want to pay like $400 for my MacBook. No worries. We're taking a loss this year because we're building great computers. Fuck off. It wouldn't happen. Like, there's something that's weird about the creative industry where people's value on it.
Because it's not a tangible product.
There are some industries that do that though. I think Microsoft, for most of it, I'm going to get this so wrong, but for one of their Xboxes, for most of its lifespan, they were selling it for a lot less than it cost to manufacture. They were making big losses on the sale of the console itself, but they made up for that with all the licenses they sold to developers to make games for it.
That's a good idea.
I think that's how. I'm probably wrong on this.
That's a cool model, but again, that's like giant company.
Yeah.
That's one arm of it is doing this little thing.
Or like News Corporation. Like the Australian loses millions every year for News Corporation. Rupert Murdoch keeps it around because he likes it as a mouthpiece to have influence on Australian politics. And he can afford to take that loss because he also owns Family Guy and The Simpsons.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah, I suppose that's diversification of income.
Yeah.
And so if your single source of income is this creative thing, this music or TV show or something like you've created, it's hard to put a value on it that's not, like, there never has it been truer than, like, it's worth what people are prepared to pay for it. And I've downloaded music before. I'm not going to say I haven't. And I think about it way more. I don't do it anymore. I use like a streaming service like Spotify. But still, the margins on that are incredibly low as well. But there's never going to be a monetary amount, an equal monetary amount to what something is worth for the person that created it almost. Because you can never be paid an hourly rate for a song you made. Because then you're saying that all songs are equal. So I could be like, this song took me 100 hours, pay me $1,000. And it's just like, versus someone that spent 100 hours making an incredible masterpiece. So, yeah, I don't know. I feel like all creative stuff makes you money in the long run if you quote unquote make it.
But I think we have such a survivor's bias with that, because the stories that we hear about are, are success stories, people who did it hard for a long time and then made it. But what isn't publicized, most people, 95% of artists who never make it in that way and lose a bunch of money, but we never hear their stories because they're not famous.
But do they live off it? Because I'm sure there's another portion of the creative community that are making a very livable wage and don't drive a crazy sports car or own a huge house, but earn like $60,000 a year from their creative thing.
I don't think there are even that many of them, depending on the industry. Like musicians in Australia, I think APRA keep track of that, and it's a low percentage of people who even make a living playing music in Australia, let alone make exorbitant amounts of money. But yeah, I'd really like to talk to someone someday who regularly contributes to things like Kickstarters and Patreons. Well, I contribute to one Patreon regularly, and that's a friend's podcast that she does in Melbourne. But I know that she specifically has a lot of financial difficulties for reasons beyond her control. Yeah. And part of that is just kind of helping out a mate.
Yeah.
But if I didn't know her, I don't know that I would contribute.
And I think like that's the classic thing with any like a Patreon or a Kickstarter. Like Kickstarters typically are like product kind of things.
Yeah.
And if the product is really compelling and the video and the presentation is really compelling, you see guys like, they want $160,000, they get $2 million, and then they go, holy shit, I've got to make these, and I promised you like all these kinds of things. Like then you've got to do all this work for it. And in some cases, the products that they make are not as groundbreaking as the original concepts appeared to be.
And can you take money back if you think that the product that you got was not worth the monetary value you put on it? So if you enter in $10,000 for a Kickstarter that's a film that you really want to see, and then they make the film and it's a piece of shit, can you kind of be like, I want half my money back?
You can probably get because if you're putting in 10 grand on a movie, that probably makes you like associate producer or something, right?
That's true.
You could probably have your name taken off the credits. I don't know if they give you your money back.
But surely you'd get a cut of the profits at that level. I remember Broken Lizard did a Kickstarter for their
Super Troopers 2.
Super Troopers 2, and like one of the top ones. You didn't like Super Troopers?
That was one of those movies I saw at a sleepover as a teenager. I was like, oh, gee, we're better than this, surely. Even as 13-year-old boys, aren't we better than this?
That's insane.
I don't
know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe
you need to watch it again.
Maybe it holds up.
It is.
We found another movie.
Yeah. It is ridiculous, but it's got its moments. Yeah, they did like for Super Troopers 2, and one of the top rewards for a donation, it was like for like $30,000 or something, you'd get like producer credit, plus all 4 of them or 5 of them, whatever there is, would come to your wedding and give a best man speech. And it was like all sorts of things.
And party.
Yeah.
But you had to fly them there.
And did someone take that tier?
I'm not sure. I haven't checked up on the thing in ages. This is at least a year ago that it was all up.
I do love extravagant Kickstarter goals like that.
Yeah.
If you were to make an Ekko and Sidetrack EP and fund it on Kickstarter, say, like if you want to make a really good go of it, what would it cost to make an EP for you guys?
In like the whole thing, like our
whole
time
thing.
plus
Promo, music video, mixing, mastering.
I reckon if you got $5,000 to $7,000,
and then give away the EP for free.
anyone that contributes would get it for free, and everyone else had to pay.
Yeah. Okay, so your goal, let's say it's $7,000. What would be your stretch goals? Be like if you got more than that, what extra shit would you put on top? If you got $30,000,
Oh.
what extra stuff would you do for your fans?
Probably have a panic attack and freak out.
And film it for them? And that'll be the hidden track on the EP.
I'd probably throw a party and fly people out or something. That'd be cool.
Yeah, maybe, or redistribute it. Or
Through a universal basic income scheme.
everyone gets 35 cents.
You would set up your own microstate, like the Principality of Hutt River, the Principality of Ekko and Sidetrack, and then you would have universal basic income for all your backers
Within that area.
And it would last for about a week and a half because we'd pay people on a daily basis, and it would basically just be a bush to or a festival.
or a cult.
Yeah, a cult.
If we got that much money, I'd probably just I'd put it away and then
Deny that we ever made the Kickstarter.
do another EP or put on a free gig, donate some to charity, figure out another thing. I really don't know. That's a really good question.
I think to put on a really big party and basically spend everything over what we didn't use on the EP to launch the EP, and like anyone that donated over X amount of dollars was flown out and VIP treatment or I don't know, like you could do something like that. But the other thing you could do is, instead of making one or two good videos and like everyone cuts cost, you could make one really epic video with the same crew that like kind of working on a tighter budget. But music videos, I don't know,
people don't value them as much.
nah, but they can also be so fucking expensive.
And so shit still.
Yeah, you could spend $100,000 on a music video and people would still be like, that's a shitty fucking video.
And they very, very rarely recoup their budget.
Yeah, it's a bonus. It's an added bonus you're trying to hit. Yeah, again, I don't know. I'd love to see some stats on, like, even a Rihanna music video is made for and how it makes its money back. Yeah, you got 50 million streams on your Vivo or whatever, but is that enough to pay for a music video?
The budgets for music videos has definitely gone down, I'd say.
Yeah, I reckon there's some. Once again, we go back to like the 90s or the 80s or something. Like people would like make movies for their music videos.
What
And
about Thriller?
Yeah, shot on film.
All videos, well, most videos were shot on film into like the
I just reckon that like
late 90s.
I'd love to. The budget for "Take on Me" by Aha.
Oh yeah,
That video,
the animation,
animation thing. It's funny. It would probably be more expensive to make now because that technology is so old.
Yeah,
But at the time, it was like, oh, we'll just get like an animation. Like, yeah, okay, it's difficult. It's going to be expensive, but we'll get this company to do it.
you would need to like exhume and resurrect the body of someone who knows how to hand animate stuff.
Yeah. Oh, it was such a good clip.
Have you guys seen the music video to Backstreet's Back by the Backstreet Boys?
Is that the one where they're in, it's like kind of like Thriller?
Yeah,
They're
it's
in
like
the-
Thriller. It's a rip-off of Thriller.
And they're all on the roof. And it's rain, like, because they're all zombie werewolf things and they're coming down the walls.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, they're like dancing in a big ballroom.
Yeah.
And I'd never seen that before the other day. And it blew my mind. It's fucking Thriller.
Yeah.
And it's so cheesy looking,
And it's
even
also
for the
millions
90s.
It'd be like millions of dollars of production went into that.
And it's funny that one of the Backstreet Boys, I think, is Aaron Carter the blonde one?
Nick Carter.
Nick Carter.
Aaron Carter was his brother.
Right, okay. So he's obviously drawn the short straw because while the others are like, oh, he's a sexy vampire, oh, he's a sexy werewolf, Nick Carter has got stuck being the mummy.
Wrapped up in stuff.
Yeah. He's not sexy at all.
Man, I think again that golden era of like flashy money. I shudder to think what someone like the Spice Girls would have made.
Just a quick update of Googling. The most expensive music video was Michael Jackson and Janet Jackson, Scream, $7 million.
What was that video?
I couldn't have ever seen that.
And then it was three Madonna videos. Die Another Day, Express Yourself, and Bedtime Story, which was $6.1 million. 5 million and 5 million.
But see that those costs again, it's like movies. Like they're not. It's not like you're paying everyone for an hourly wage and everything like that. No. But there's a certain amount of glamour that goes into it. Like I'm sure someone like David LaChapelle or someone was involved, this big name photographer or someone, and they were like, I need it. It's going to be $500,000 just for me to work on it.
David Fincher directed Express Yourself.
Yeah, David Fincher's got some mad.
He was a music video guy. Yeah.
89.
Was it Alien 3 was his first feature, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In 93? Yeah, 93 makes sense. Because Resurrection was 97.
Yes. It's amazing Resurrection got made after Alien 3, I think.
They're still whipping the horse.
They are.
Shit, that comes out this month.
Alien Covenant.
Yeah.
Are you keen for that?
I liked Prometheus.
I need to watch Prometheus
There's
again.
people that hate Prometheus.
I would watch Prometheus.
I liked Prometheus. I thought it was a little bit simplistic, but I kind of liked it. Where's the Covenant fit in
It's a sequel to Prometheus, I believe.
in that? What happens after they left?
No, essentially the crew is a group of couples. They're going to repopulate another world.
Vince Vaughn and Jennifer Aniston played the romantic.
Jennifer Lawrence.
And they land in the world that Prometheus is set on, I believe.
So, and Ridley's there.
No, there is no...
Ripley's not in it.
Ridley is the director.
Ripley. Is it Ripley?
Yeah, Ripley. Ripley's not there.
Alan Ripley is the Sigourney Weaver character.
Yeah, that's
Ridley Scott is the director.
Yeah.
I don't think...
And Ripley's Believe It or Not was a show.
Dean Cain is in the new Alien movie.
What?
No, not really. So they go back.
I think so. I think they
It
land...
looks like the new one is essentially a remake of Alien, from what I've seen. They're playing up the horror a lot more.
But you see... I don't like the fact you see the alien so much in the preview. And I don't like the fact that the alien is clearly computer generated.
But we've been down this path before. What is left in the well of aliens?
Yeah, exactly.
There's 50 stories that don't involve doing the same thing. They could, I don't know, they could be on a ship and...
Alien 1.
No, they could be on a ship, and then I'm thinking of just
boat?
Event Horizon. They're on a boat, but like
Alien Cruise Control.
yeah. And then what's the Alien versus Predator?
That's in the Antarctica.
Yeah,
Under the ice.
Because there was a temple which the predators used to come down once every 1,000 years and bring the aliens with them, and they would have
And hunt them. As a ritual for their young predator warriors.
Yeah.
I never saw it.
Not a bad movie.
Okay. We're going to revisit a topic from our last podcast, controversial views on movies. I thought the first Alien vs. Predator, fairly poor in my opinion. Aliens vs. Predator Requiem, damn fun movie.
Was that with the town?
Yeah, where they're in the town.
I stopped watching it.
Oh, I thought that was really good because that was a mean horror movie that didn't give a fuck about its human characters. But the human characters weren't unsympathetic. They just got slaughtered relentlessly. And they were good people, and there was an Iraq vet who'd just come home and her husband got killed and she was trying to protect her kid. But really the main protagonist was the predator who was without having language, there was a lot of good visual storytelling of this predator who was the cop who's been pulled out of retirement for one last job. He's got to hunt down these aliens that have gotten loose.
Like an older predator.
Yeah, he is. He's got all these battle scars and stuff.
Is he the same predator from Alien versus Predator? You know how there's one predator that kind of joined forces with the human woman?
Yeah.
And then at the end, he marks her with the warrior sign?
Yeah, no. Because at the start of Aliens versus Predator, at the end of the first one, you see that one of the predators got infected with an alien and it bursts on the predator ship.
Yeah.
So the second one picks up immediately after that, and the pred alien the alien that quickly grows into like an alien predator hybrid, like kills all the predators on that ship, and then goes back to Earth and crash lands outside this town in what's supposed to be the United States, but is clearly Canada.
Okay.
And then, so I think there was like a distress signal from that ship that gets sent back to the Predator homeworld, and this old Predator warrior has to go to Earth to kill off all the aliens because they escape containment. And so he has to hunt down the Pred alien and all these other. And apparently, this new Pred alien can doesn't need to, like, it can just generate other predators. It can just lay eggs and do all this shit. And they just run rampant in this small town in America, which is like you're talking about. There's 50 different stories they can do in the Alien universe. That's an original take.
That is. I had never seen them. I didn't even know there was two.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe Prometheus was an original take as well. It was a bit like the origin story, but I don't know. I felt like that movie was good until you knew what was going to happen.
Yeah, and I felt it had a bit of the a case of the character dum-dums. They're all so stupid for allegedly being the smartest scientists on Earth. Like when they go in the thing and, you know, the experts in xenobiology or whatever just poke shit with their hands or of course, in the often quoted bit at the end of the movie where she is running away from a giant circle and she runs, you know, not to the side. Like,
Yeah.
there were a few suspension of disbelief things. There were bits I really liked about it. I thought the whole sequence where she has to cut it out of herself and essentially give herself an abortion really got back to some of the kind of the imagery of the first Alien, which was quite, you know, psychosexual and to deal with gender in a lot of ways. And that was kind of interesting.
I think the new one's going for more crazy.
Yeah.
Again, like it's catering to it. There's a shitload of studio executives that know that a Marvel movie sells, and like, let's make an Alien movie that's like a Marvel movie, rather than making an Alien movie that's like the first Alien is it's claustrophobic.
Yeah.
And those movies don't get made much anymore.
People wouldn't. You show Alien 1 to, say, a 16-year-old now, and they'd probably find it boring and slow, because what they think a horror movie is completely different. Like The Thing. I watched The Thing recently, and that is a solid movie.
The John Carpenter one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Solid movie. Slow burn. It's more about you don't know who's the thing or where the thing is. And I only watched it because I watched The Hateful Eight.
Oh, love that.
And Tarantino talked about how he screened The Thing to everyone. And he's like, basically, it's The Thing. It's a group of guys.
Kurt Russell was like, got it.
Yeah. I think I know what I'm going to do. Basically, it's 8 guys stuck. It's a big whodunit. No one knows who anyone else is. Everyone's trying to work out each other.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
I did like Hateful Eight, but like I found it again a little bit claustrophobic, not in a good way. It kind of played out like a play.
Yeah, I liked it for
which
that.
I didn't mind. I found a few bits maybe a little bit masturbatory.
But every Tarantino movie is like that.
Yeah. And like he tends to maybe bash you over the head with homage.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's like, look, I'm doing the thing with the I'm using the same guy for the soundtrack, and like it's like there's many in jokes, but that's kind of his shtick.
Yeah. I got to see that in Sydney in like a deluxe screening in 70mm, and it was an extended cut of the film that was in 2 acts.
Cool.
There was an intermission, and it came with like a booklet.
Oh wow!
It was gorgeous.
So the whole thing with the 70mm, I got after watching a little documentary about it. Like it was one of only like 6 movies or something shot on it.
Yeah, I think they
like Ben-Hur and a few other things.
They went to extraordinary lengths to get that film stock.
Yeah. Which is it's huge. Like it's a big piece of film stock, and like the concept of it being like it's not 16:9, is it?
No, the ratio is really
wide.
Really wide. Yeah.
Yeah. So how did they shrink it down then?
I don't know the technical aspect to it, but like it worked so well for that movie because, as you say, it's like a play. Most of it is set within one room, which is a large log cabin, with a lot of really wide shots where you can see what a lot of people are doing.
Yeah,
and that works so well with a really wide angle.
That's right. I think after seeing it, I knew what he was trying to do, and I enjoyed what he was trying to do, but I was reluctant to recommend it to too many people because of its niche-ness.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't for everyone.
No. But I enjoyed it a lot more than Django Unchained. I had a rough time with that one, actually.
Yeah, you didn't like it?
No. It resensitized me to the N-word. Because like nowadays, like you grow up with that word, like in hip hop and in video games and in movies and TV, and it's like a thing that the black people throw around at each other, having reclaimed it.
Yeah.
But seeing it in that original context as a hateful, as an oppressive tool that white people use against black people, it's like, Jesus Christ, I should not take this for granted.
It's very harsh.
Yeah.
I actually really like Django, but not because I didn't like it as much as Inglourious Bastards. But I think just as I was leaving, you guys were saying that a lot of Tarantino stuff is very masturbatory.
Yeah.
It's definitely becoming more and more like that.
As he becomes more and more of a Tarantino. Like, when he did Pulp Fiction and Jackie Brown, Reservoir Dogs and stuff, he was this alternative director whose movies would be screened in indie theaters,
midnight cinemas sort of
stuff.
Yeah.
And now he's a mainstay of the alt. It's almost like if you're a 16-year-old kid, you know who Quentin Tarantino is. You like Kill Bill because it's a cool movie. So he's kind of got this. He's got the mainstream as well as the alt people going for him, and he's doing it all for everyone, which isn't a bad thing, but some of the things that made him so great, I reckon, have been a bit lost. What's he got? One more movie?
I think so.
He said he'd only ever make 8, 9, 10.
Oh, I think he's done that a few times. He said, "Oh, this is my last one, guys." It's like the Jay-Z or the John Farnham of cinema.
Yeah.
Kevin Smith's like that as well.
Fucking Kevin Smith. Did you see was it The Walrus?
Tusk.
I didn't see that.
No.
Great movie.
It's all right. It's interesting.
Did you see Red State?
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that.
I didn't mind it. It wasn't bad. I don't know. I thought it was a better take than... Yeah, it was interesting. I don't know. Kevin Smith, he's another guy that I heard on a podcast, and I thought I'd really enjoy him, but I found him annoying.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure there's someone probably listening to this podcast that goes, that guy that keeps on talking, he's fucking annoying. But, yeah, I don't know. Kevin Smith, I loved Mallrats, thought it was hilarious. You know, all of those Jersey Tales movies were hilarious, and then he kind of started whipping that horse that was definitely dead.
Yeah, I feel like if he never makes another View Askew-niverse movie again, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
But like Red State was great. He did Zack and Mary Make a Porno, didn't he?
Yeah.
Is that him?
Yeah.
I thought that was a really sweet movie.
I need to watch that again.
Oh, that and Chasing Amy, he's such a sentimental guy, Kevin Smith.
He is. He definitely is.
But not in a soppy way. Like, those are movies with real heart to them.
I think he's a really good filmmaker, but I think he makes movies for different reasons. Like, the new thing... Yoga hoses.
Oh, with his daughter and Johnny Depp's daughter.
Yeah. With like the Nazi fucking sausages or like the Nazi hotcakes that come out at night in Canada or some shit.
And he literally made that for his daughter. He was like, I just want to make a stupid movie so 13-year-old girls have heroes.
But which is a cool idea. I'd like to watch that with my girlfriend and be like, what do you think of this movie?
Because your girlfriend's a 13-year-old.
She turns 13 next year.
That sounded like that's what you were insinuating.
My girlfriend is not 13. She's 23. But she's enough of a feminist and a girl that would probably appreciate or would have appreciated having heroes as a 13-year-old girl.
Yeah, I think sometimes directors make stuff for themselves And if they've got the platform, go for it. Because in this modern day, when you just need the Patreon to make it happen, and then you can sell the package to your 1,000 true fans, then go for it.
It's so weird, isn't it? Like we talk about things we love, and musicians and filmmakers and actors and all that, and what we like about what they've done, but we have so little knowledge of why they really do what they do. There are so many practical concerns we're never going to know about, like, oh, this person needed money, this person like had to put their kid through school, or like this kid was sick so they couldn't do this movie or whatever, that we're just never going to know about.
And you view it as like, oh wow, this is someone's heart and soul that they've put into this thing, and they must have thought about it so deep. And then, there's some occasions where you find out the true motivation, and it is like, I just needed money. I bought another house.
So where do we stand on M. Night Shyamalan?
I've only seen 3 of his movies. I think his first 3. So The Sixth Sense, Unbreakable, and Signs. And I stopped watching his movies when I think the 4th one was The Village. Was that the 4th? And I guess the twist of that movie, having not seen it, based on the ad.
Yeah.
And when I found out I was right, I was like, okay, I don't need to see
Yeah,
it.
I don't think I've seen Unbreakable. I think I've seen Signs and The Sixth Sense.
Unbreakable is a good movie.
It was. I heard he wants to do a sequel to that or something.
Well, apparently Split, which I want to see.
Oh, yes.
Is somehow connected to Unbreakable.
I've heard that's kind of his comeback movie. Apparently it's good.
Because he made the movie
Devil Lift?
The movie where the devil is in a lift, and there's like 5 people get stuck in a lift, and one of them's the devil. And then another one where he made Lady in the Water with Paul Giamatti, about some fucking mer woman in a pool. And then he made The Knowing with Mark Wahlberg, where plants are releasing a pheromone to make people kill themselves or kill each other.
Spoiler alert, by the way.
Yeah. Sorry, they're all shit.
Plot twist.
But Split has got good reviews and looks like a fairly interesting take on a horror genre. And I think he made something. He also made The Visit, which is like that a documentary style thing where 2 kids go visit their grandparents that they've never met.
Oh,
and
yeah.
they're really fucking weird.
Yeah, I read about that. I don't watch a lot of horror movies because I don't like being scared, but I read a lot of horror movie synopses on Wikipedia because if I see an ad for a horror movie, I want to know what the twist is. What is the monster?
Yeah.
I'm really curious. So I think I've read about that one.
I think I've gotten better. I used to not like horrors because I got scared, but I've kind of gotten better. If it's a good movie, I'll watch it and enjoy being scared a little because I know now that it's not real.
If I've seen a horror movie once, I can watch it a million times. I just don't like being startled, so
Yeah.
I hate jump scares. Like I love Alien, and I loved that the first time I watched it because there aren't a lot of jump scares. It's about tension.
Yeah.
I love those kind of movies. So if I know it's going to be that kind of horror movie, then I can watch it. I think, from what I've read about it, I think I would like The Witch.
The Witch is kind of cool.
Did you see that?
Yeah, it's a slow burn with some. If you're used to the jump scare kind of like not classic horror movie, it's like the modern horror.
Yeah.
Like The Conjuring kind of thing. It's slow, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was quite cool and an interesting take on a witch story, I suppose, in a creepy kind of way. Yeah, I'd recommend it. It's all got like old language, so they're all kind of speaking like
Kind of like Deadwood.
no, yeah, almost like Deadwood, but like a bit like so late 1700s settlers in America kind of thing. The characters are creepy and the setting is creepy, and it's like it feels very bleak and like heavy. There's almost no reprieve. Again, it's one of those claustrophobic movies that like. This is not necessarily a horror scene, but there's something awkward and uncomfortable about this.
I think I could deal with that. I think I should see it.
I think The Conjuring is the best horror movie I've seen in the past couple of years. I would watch that.
I don't know much about that. What's it about?
The psychic investigators, they're like a famous couple that actually existed. It's based on a true story. And they go investigate a demon entity that's haunting this house, which has like a family in it. It's a solid movie, as well as being really scary.
Last year, I went through the entire Evil Dead franchise
Ah, nice.
in chronological order. Are you guys Evil Dead fans?
Yes.
If you watch
Definitely.
the first one, it's like they're being serious, and then the second one, the second one's like, is this Evil Dead 2 is it's Evil Dead 3, which is the
Army of Darkness.
They go back in time.
Army of Darkness.
Evil Dead 2 is a remake of Evil Dead 1.
Essentially, yeah.
Evil Dead 1 is the original where there's something in the bottom in the thing, and then Evil Dead 2 is
The same.
Yeah. And then Army of Darkness is very tongue-in-cheek.
Yes.
Which is, this is my boomstick, etc.
Yep. Hail to the king, baby.
Shop smart. Shop smart. And then, is there a fourth?
There's a remake that I watched that is back to serious.
It's made by a Spanish director that might have made The Hills Have Eyes or Alexandre Aja, maybe?
I thought it was really good.
Yeah.
I think it was the goriest movie I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I read it holds the world record for the most blood used on a set.
Because of that blood rain at the end.
At the end, it literally rains blood. Yeah.
Whoa.
But even before that, there's a lot of blood.
I reckon, like, the first one, when I watched it originally, it was quite scary, just because you're a kid, and like that thing in the basement is like a bit crazy, and it does so many things now you can look at and be like, these have become staples of horror.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But like, it was quite creepy.
And have you guys seen the TV show Ash vs. Evil Dead?
I watched the first season of that. It was cool.
That's great.
And I think I liked the take of that, like how he's just
he's a fat old man.
He's still being an asshole. Like he's still, and then he just reads something from the Necronomicon as a joke, trying to get laid, and then it's like, oh, it's back.
It's like they're doing all the stuff, all the swearing, all the weed smoking that they couldn't even have gotten away with back in the 80s.
Yeah, it's so good. I think there's loads of content there to be taken. Like, why remake movies?
Yeah. Today we're so swamped by reboots and remakes and sequels of things, but I think there is a good way of doing it, and I think Ash vs. Evil Dead is a good example because they've taken a franchise and they've really done something new with it.
Yeah.
Like, it has of all the movies, it has the feel most like Army of Darkness. It's very tongue-in-cheek, it's funny, but like they're not remaking the same story.
Yeah.
It's like there's a bit of a Monster of the Week thing. It's got a bit of Buffy humor in it, but there's also like an ongoing storyline. The characters are good. They got great guest stars, like Lucy Lawless is on it all the time.
Yeah.
In the second season, his dad is played by Lee Majors.
Whoa.
He's great. He's essentially like an even older, codgier version of Ash.
Did Jumanji, the reboot of Jumanji, how do you feel about that?
Take it away. Get it out of my sight. Why?
So
Why would you do that?
Apparently what they're doing is that it's not a remake. It still honors that the first one happened. It's that they found the book again.
I don't care. I don't care if it's a remake
But
or a reboot.
they
They
find
found
the
the-
book at the end of the first one.
Yeah.
Remember those kids? Aren't kids riding and they hear the...
Oh, yeah.
But they're in like the sand of somewhere. So that's what I mean. It's like, that's an infinite story that can go on. And if interesting stuff happens, I'm into it.
It's not... Yeah, but you can't have...
It's a popcorn movie, but
You can't have an original like Jumanji. It was funny because it had Robin Williams in it, but it was also fucking scary
As a kid's movie, yeah.
and swashbuckling and stuff. This has Jack Black, The Rock, and Kevin Hart in it. This is going to be the most standard, vanilla bit of comedy, stupid.
The characters are never going to look at each other on screen. They'll be mugging to the camera that much.
Yeah. Like it's not going to be...
true.
It's not going to be as interesting as the first one. Like the first one, you got the relationship with the kids, Kirsten Dunst, Bonnie Hunt is in it.
There's no disputing it's not going to be the first one. But I'm saying I'm glad they're not just doing a straight remake.
Well, I guess, okay, if you're not going to If you're not going to do a straight remake or a reboot or whatever of a movie, why not make it an original franchise?
I agree.
Like, that's the thing. And it's
But
so...
how would you feel about an original franchise starring The Rock, Kevin Hart, Jack Black, about a crystal ball they found that was like, if you looked even just below the surface, you'd be like, this is Jumanji.
I'll tell you, well, with a cast like that would pique my interest more, because it's not such a transparent attempt at the studio to capitalize on my nostalgia. I don't feel like I'm being insulted.
Yeah, that's true. And nostalgia is a big thing that they're aiming for, like, because they're like a big market is people our age, like between 25 and 35, that, you know, saw certain movies because we're old enough to get nostalgic, and the other kids are young enough to not know what it was. So, do you know what movie? You know, The Goonies. I watched it recently for the first time.
I've not seen it.
You've never seen it?
No, I'm familiar with a lot of aspects of it.
Yeah, so if you watch it now, it's kind of like it's so ridiculous. It's so like. It's nothing clever about it, but it would have so much nostalgia to it because it's like kids doing on this crazy adventure and stuff like that. But it's, you know, when a movie is led by like, what's down there? Oh, we shouldn't go down there. And it's like, there's nothing motivating anyone to go anywhere.
Yeah.
It's like, it's very thin on the motivation premise. And it literally, it feels like a ride. Like, that has a start and an end. It twists a little bit, but yeah, I don't know. I was just thinking about that, like, because I'm sure it's got to be 5 years away from a remake. Someone's gonna.
I mean, we've had Power Rangers this year. Has there been a more unnecessary move, a more transparent grab for nostalgia?
There's going to be a Pokemon live action film to come out, I reckon, in the next 5 years.
Maybe Disney are remaking all their animated movies in live action from only 20 years ago. Like, how dry has the well run?
What movies?
Like, they did Jungle Book last year.
True.
And Beauty and the Beast this year.
True.
They're doing a live action Lion King.
How?
Jono's head is in his hands.
How? Is it going to be like Milo and Otis?
I don't know. How many lions are they going to have to kill?
John C. Reilly is the voice of like Simba or something.
They've started casting. Apparently, they're getting James L. Jones back to play Mufasa in live action. They were thinking of casting like Seth Rogen and someone as Timon and Pumbaa. I think Donald Glover's going to be like adult Simba or something.
But you don't need
Are they
to
going to
do
be? Is it going to be? Hold on a second. Is it going to be the
Jono
voice?
is visibly angry.
Is it going to be the voices with CGI, or is it going to be actual
Babe, Pig in the City?
No.
Technology.
No, is it going to be humans? They're going to transplant the Lion King story onto humans, and it's going to be set in LA, and this guy owns like a farm or something. It's like, this could all be yours.
Lion King, Pig in the City.
Yeah, and then his uncle comes along and kills him in a stampede, and then
So like
the
a
son,
human,
literally, literally are transplanted onto human characters, but James Earl Jones still plays Mufasa.
If they say it in Denmark, they can just call it Hamlet, and it'll come full circle.
Yeah.
I don't know how they're planning on doing it. I'm not sure.
If it's like the Jungle Book worked, I watched the Jungle Book recently and I thought it was pretty good. But there's a human character in the Jungle Book, so it works at being live action. If they remake The Lion King with the special effects of the Jungle Book,
no one cares. Why bother? Why spend the money to just animate everything?
the same reason why they've probably made all those movies again in 3D and re-released them.
I saw The Lion King in 3D when it came out. Apart from like one or two scenes like the stampede, unnecessary. A bit of a waste of money.
All they did is went and did some stereoscopic layering on things like that. It's just, again, it comes back to that. Does it make money? Will it make money? Will it make more money than it costs to make? The answer is yes. I believe we should do it.
It's just so sad to look at the slate of movie releases, and they're releasing fewer movies than ever every year for various reasons. Many I don't even know. Economic reasons I'm not even knowledgeable enough to talk about. But it's so disheartening to see how many are original properties, how few.
Do you think that is something to do with the amount of original writers writing new stuff? Or do you think that's like amount of original things that just like they just look at and be like, that's too risky?
Yeah, I think it's that absolutely. The top down. I don't think there's a lack of creativity in young writers and directors. I think they just can't get their original stuff made these days because it's so much safer for studios to make a new superhero or Star Wars movie.
What do you think of the new Star Wars?
We need a third podcast. No. So I saw The Force Awakens. I haven't seen Rogue One.
I haven't seen Rogue One either, but apparently it's great because it shifts off the take on Star Wars. It doesn't have to be part of the Star Wars universe. So the concept, I believe, is that, and you'll probably correct me because you're probably more of a Star Wars fanatic than I am, but all the new Star Wars is that even a thing? Star Y? Star whatever. All the new Star Wars movies will be sequential and they'll be one every 2 years. Or
every year.
18 months.
Yeah.
But the ones that will happen in between are like side stories directed by other people, and they aren't Star Wars : Rogue One. They're just called like Rogue One, and they're like
Star Wars story.
A Star Wars story. So they're like they can have more grit to it and stuff like that. Like I think Rian Johnson's gonna direct one.
Yeah, I think he's doing the episode 7.
Oh, really? He's doing a legit Star Wars.
Yeah.
He's doing The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
He's done The Last Jedi.
But doesn't that just like okay? You tell me what you think of Star Wars, and then I'm going to tell you what I think of Star Wars.
Okay, so I don't approach Star Wars from a film lover's. I have a different approach to it than I do other franchises I'm invested in. I first came to Star Wars not through the movies. I came to it through video games and the expanded universe. Oh my God, Scott, you giant dork. No one wants to hear your Star Wars thoughts. Okay. Lots of notes and corrections for this episode. To start with, the Canadian town that experimented with universal basic income from 1973 to 1979 was Dauphin, Manitoba. It was called the Mincome Project, and you can look it up online. According to Radiohead frontman Tom York, their Pay What You Want album from 2007, In Rainbows, made more money in digital sales than all their previous albums combined at that point in time. Although I guess keep in mind that as of 2007, iTunes was still kind of new and streaming music wasn't a thing yet, so I'm not sure how it would compare to their previous physical sales of the albums in the 90s. When Microsoft released the original Xbox in 2001 and again with the Xbox 360 in 2005, it was estimated that they lost about $125 for every console sold, based on the cost of the components inside the machine versus the retail price to consumers. In 2013, the Xbox One turned this around, making Microsoft a profit of $28 per machine sold, which still isn't great. However, Xbox is profitable for Microsoft overall. They made $1.9 billion in Q3 2017, and most of that money was made through game licensing, sales of their own games, and perhaps most critically, their subscription online service, Xbox Live. Rupert Murdoch's News Corporation made a loss of $817 million last financial year, and the finger can fairly be pointed at print media. His Australian newspapers had their book value slashed by 40% due to a fall in profitability. In 2014, Chris Mitchell, editor of The Australian, admitted that the paper had not been profitable since 2008. Super Troopers 2, their crowdfunding campaign. It does not appear that anyone paid the $25,000 tier for all 5 members of the comedy group Broken Lizard to appear at their wedding as groomsmen. Since at least 2014, Quentin Tarantino has been saying that he will retire from filmmaking at age 60 or when he has completed his 10th movie. He's actually been fairly consistent on this commitment in interviews since then. Tarantino is currently 54 years old and has made 8 films, assuming you count both volumes of Kill Bill as one movie. His next film, tentatively titled Helter Skelter, and being in some way about the Charles Manson family killings, is set for release on August 9, 2019, on the 50th anniversary of Sharon Tate's murder. The Village was not M. Night Shyamalan's 4th movie. He actually directed 2 others before his big break with The Sixth Sense, so The Village was his 6th movie. The director of the 2013 remake of Evil Dead was Federico Alvarez. He did not also direct the remake of The Hills Have Eyes. That was Alexandre Aya. Check out Ekko and Sidetrack's music. SoundCloud would probably be the best place to look that up. If you're into your drum and bass, they also do some pretty fun club nights called Adventures with Ekko and Sidetrack if you live in Perth. Do I have any Perth listeners? I don't know. And they also have their own podcast called The Adventures of Ekko and Sidetrack. Speaking of music, I've tried something different again in the intro and outro this week. So I normally listen to classical music. Tonight I'm listening to some rock music. I wasn't sure how it would go with, lyrics with someone singing, but it's not too bad. It's not been too hard to concentrate. It is playing very softly in my headphones. I'm listening to Waxahachie. Their album this year, Out in the Storm, has been one of my favorites, and I've been listening to it a whole lot lately. It's pretty great. That's all for this episode. Check out the Instagram, Gimme Empathy Podcast. Been posting some cool stuff up there, including from my solo gig I did a couple of weeks ago at JM Denellen's podcast launch, and we got a nice snap of some past guests who turned up, including JM himself, as well as Tim Stewart, Ruby Roberts, and Dale Peachy, who were also there. So that was really cool that they were all together. GimmeEmpathyPodcast@gmail.com is where you can reach me if you've got any commentary, questions, suggestions. I like getting feedback. Till next time, stay sparky. The song I'm listening to at the moment is called Sparks Fly. This might actually make it really easy to come up with these. If I'm listening to a song with lyrics, I'll just take something out of the lyrics. Yeah, it's going to happen. Bye-bye.